So let us start one more mineral, that is iron, or iron we call, or iron. It is one of the most important trace element in the body. So total iron content of the body is about 3 to 5 grams. Okay. So iron is present in almost all cells. Okay. There are two types of iron: heme containing proteins and non-heme proteins. Okay, heme is the prosthetic group present in the protein. Okay, so heme and non-heme proteins. So heme containing proteins, Hb, what is Hb? Hemoglobin, which is required for the transport of oxygen. Myoglobin, which is a storage of oxygen in muscle. Myo means muscle. Cytochromes, they are present in electron transport chain, nothing but the synthesis of ATP. Cytochrome oxidase, catalysis present in the cell. Peroxidase, xanthine oxidase, and tryptophan pyrrolase. Okay, so this is about the introduction of iron. Next, 75% of total iron is in Hb. Okay, 75% of total iron is in Hb, hemoglobin, and 5% in myoglobin, that is in the muscle. So that is heme and non-heme. So these myoglobin, hemoglobin and all heme containing proteins. You know that hemoglobin is a transport form of protein. Okay, so non-heme iron containing proteins: ferritin, transferrin is transport form of iron, hemosiderin, storage form of iron, lactoferrin present in the milk, and neutrophils. Okay, so total body content of iron is 3 to 5 gram. Iron is present in almost all cells. Heme containing proteins, that is hemoglobin, myoglobin, cytochromes, cytochrome oxidase, catalase, peroxidase, xanthine oxidase, tryptophan pyrrolase. These are the heme containing forms of iron. Okay, so most of the iron is present in hemoglobin, rest 5% in myoglobin in the muscle. Non-heme iron containing proteins are ferritin, transferrin. Ferritin is the storage form of iron. Transferrin is transport form of iron, that is it is required for the transport of iron. Hemosiderin is again storage form of iron. Lactoferrin present in the milk, and non-heme is also present in neutrophils. Okay, what are the sources of iron? Leafy vegetables are good sources of iron. So okay, even pulses and cereals contains lesser quantity of iron, but we get more iron from cereals because we consume more cereals. Okay, Indian meal. So liver, meat contain good quantity of iron. Okay, liver and meat part of the flesh, liver and meat contain good quantity of iron. And one more thing you have to remember, jaggery is a good source of iron. Okay, jaggery that prepared in the local jaggery is a good source of iron. Also, cooking in iron utensils, that is vessels, will improve the iron content of the diet. Okay, so milk is a poor source of iron. Okay, so what was recommended daily allowance of iron for adult is 20 milligram per day, out of which 1 to 2 milligram is absorbed. See, at this point we have to remember there are some factors which favors iron absorption and some other factors which inhibit iron absorption. So actually RDA says it required 20 milligram, but what is actually absorbed is 1 to 2 milligram. So if you consume approximately 20 milligram, you get only 1 to 2 milligram percent, that is 5 to 10% of the iron is only absorbed. 5 to 10% of iron is absorbed. So children, it is required for 13 to 15 year age. Little more quantity is required, 20 to 30 milligram per day. Pregnancy and lactating women need more milligram because of the growing fetus. Okay, pregnancy also it required more. So you have to remember that if you are consuming more iron, so absorption is only about 5 to 10%. So what are the functions of iron? As I told, there are two forms of iron, that is heme and non-heme. In the body there are two types of iron containing proteins: heme proteins and non-heme proteins. Heme protein and non-heme proteins. Heme proteins and non-heme proteins. So functions of heme proteins, that is hemoglobin, it is transport form of protein, which required for the transport of oxygen, from the lung to the tissue. Myoglobin, myo means muscle, is oxygen storage protein present in the muscle. Okay, that is the heme protein. Also cytochromes present in etc means electron transport chain. So cytochromes have a role in oxidative phosphorylation. Oxidative phosphorylation is nothing but it is the synthesis of adenosine triphosphate energy rich molecule. Okay, there are catalases which destroy hydrogen peroxide. So remember, hydrogen peroxide is synthesized in our body cells, so that will harms to the cells that need to be destroyed by catalases. Peroxidases like myeloperoxidases and neutrophils helps in phagocytosis. Phagocytosis means engulfing or destroying foreign bodies, that we are studying in pathology anyway. Peroxidases like myeloperoxidases of neutrophils helps in phagocytosis. These myeloperoxidases are heme proteins. So hemoglobin, myoglobin, cytochrome, catalases and peroxidases are heme proteins. They have their own functions. So let us see the functions of non-heme protein. Ferritin, as I told, is the storage form of iron present in the spleen and liver. Hemosiderin is another storage form of iron in liver, and also transferrin is the transport form of iron in plasma. Transferrin is the transport form of iron in the plasma. Hemosiderin and ferritin are storage form of iron. Okay, let us see digestion and absorption of iron. Okay, let us see the digestion and absorption of iron. So iron is absorbed by the upper part of the duodenum. Only ferrous, what is ferrous? Fe2 plus, ferric is Fe3 plus. Only ferrous form of, that is reduced form of iron, is absorbed. Ferric form is not absorbed. This point you have to remember. Only ferric form of iron, Fe3 plus, is absorbed. So whatever we take in the diet, that is ferrous form, ferric form, that need to be converted to ferrous form. So there are some factors which stimulate which enhance or which favors iron absorption. So ferric ions are reduced to ferrous form with the help of gastric HCl, hydrochloric acid present in the gastric juice, ascorbic acid. What is ascorbic acid? Vitamin C, cysteine and sulfhydryl groups of the proteins. So these are the factors which stimulate iron absorption. Okay, even vitamin C, we have seen in vitamin C which favors iron absorption. So factors, there are some factors which inhibit iron, which blocks or inhibit iron absorption. So iron absorption is decreased by phytic acid that is present in the cereals. What are cereals? Wheat, rice and all, and oxalic acid present in leafy vegetables. So they decrease the absorption of iron. Phytates and oxalic acid present in the leafy vegetables. Fatty acid also inhibit iron absorption. Tannic acid of tea decrease iron absorption. Okay, so there are some factors which stimulate iron absorption like gastric HCl, ascorbic acid and all. Some factors like oxalic acid present in the leafy vegetable and phytic acid present in the cereal and also tannic acid in the tea decrease the iron absorption. So I am giving this one digestion and absorption, no need in great detail, but you should know that. So iron is absorbed by the upper part of the duodenum. That is called, this theory is called mucosal block theory. Iron is absorbed upper part of the duodenum. There are three sectors we can: lumen of the gastrointestinal tract, then iron absorption in the mucosal cells of gastrointestinal tract, and what about iron in the plasma. Okay, this mucosal block theory says iron absorbed by upper part of the duodenum, hemostasis is maintained at the level of absorption, that is okay homeostasis is maintained at the level of absorption. Okay, homeostasis is maintains means that maintains the iron level, how much iron is required for the body. Okay, rest is destroyed. Okay, so iron stores means, see, homeostasis means iron stores depleted means absorption increases. If iron is stored in the form of ferritin and hemosiderin, okay, in the liver and spleen, so if iron storage depletes, then absorption of iron increases. If there is adequate iron, then absorption decreases, thereby homeostasis, that is the balance, is maintained. And remember, only ferrous form of iron is absorbed and not the ferric form. Also, ferrous iron bind to mucosal cell protein called divalent metal transporter DMT1. This bound iron is then transported into mucosal cell. Unabsorbed is excreted. So iron is taken excess and utilization, actual real utilization is less. So inside the mucosal cell, iron is oxidized to ferric state, complexed with apoferritin to form ferritin. So ferritin is the storage form of iron. Ferric iron is reduced to ferrous state, crosses the cell membrane. Okay, so in the bloodstream, reoxidized to ferric state by ceruloplasmin. Okay, copper containing protein, ceruloplasmin. So ferric iron bound with the transferrin and transported to tissue. So transferrin is the storage is the transport form of iron. Okay, the storage, ferritin, in the form of ferritin, iron is stored in the liver, spleen and bone marrow. Hemosiderin is another iron storage protein in the spleen and liver are the storage form. So ferritin and hemosiderin are storage form of the iron. This diagram I am giving separately again. So this shows iron transport and absorption and transport of iron. Okay, So what we take in the food? So what we take in the food? Iron found in the ferric form bound with the organic acid. Okay. In the released, so this is released as ferric form. So reducing substances such as ascorbic acid, I am giving this diagram again separate in your group because this is not so clear, I feel. So iron in most food present in ferric form bound with proteins or organic acid. In the acid medium provided by gastric HCl, ferric is released from the food. So reducing substances such as ascorbic acid convert Fe3 plus to Fe2 plus. Iron in the ferrous form is soluble and readily absorbed. Okay. So the iron Fe2 plus entering the mucosal cell by absorption is oxidized to ferric form Fe3 plus. Okay. So first ferric is converted to ferrous. In the mucosal cell again ferric is oxidized to ferrous is oxidized to ferric by the enzyme ferroxidase. So ferric then combined with apoprotein to form ferritin, which is a storage form, temporary storage form of iron. From the mucosal cell, iron may enter the bloodstream or lost when cell is destroyed. See, iron liberated from the ferritin of the mucosal cell enters the plasma in the ferrous state. Okay. So here it is oxidized to ferric form by a copper containing protein, that is ceruloplasmin, which possesses ferroxidase activity. Okay. So again it is oxidized to ferric form by the in the presence of ceruloplasmin. Okay. So ferric iron then bind with a specific iron binding protein, that is namely transferrin. Transferrin is a protein, nothing but, which transfers the iron. Okay. So how iron is stored again? How iron is stored now? So iron is stored in the liver and spleen and bone marrow as ferritin. Hemosiderosis is another storage form of iron. So bone marrow, muscle, myoglobin MB and other tissues iron is stored. Okay. So this diagram I am giving again in your group. So this is not so important, you can write in words also, this is also enough, these slides 3, these 4 slides also enough. Okay. So if you don't write the diagram, you can manage. So if they draw this line diagram, it's easy. So iron deficiency, anemia is the most common nutritional deficiency diseases. Okay, iron deficiency anemia or microcytic hypochromic anemia. Microcytic means RBC size about 7 micron, no, it is reduced micro. Hypochromic means RBC is less colored, that is paler. Okay, that is hemoglobin is less than 12 gram per dl is cause iron deficiency anemia. Mainly it is the nutritional deficiency, less intake of iron in the diet. Okay. So iron deficiency anemia, clinical manifestation, anemia is there, hemoglobin less, apathy, anemia is there, then apathy is there, echloridria is there, then impaired attention is there, irritability is there, lowered memory, sometimes confusion like. Koilonychia is there, means spoon shaped nail is the characteristic feature of iron deficiency anemia. So these are the some of the features of iron deficiency anemia. Causes of iron deficiency: hookworm infection, hookworm sucks blood, okay, hookworm infection, nephrosis, repeated pregnancy, there is hemodilution, okay, blood is less altogether, hemoglobin is low, lack of absorption. You know that there are some factors which favors iron absorption like HCl, gastric, then vitamin C and all. If there are deficiencies there is a lack of absorption of iron, so that deficiency of iron occurs. So nutritional deficiency of iron, if you are not taking green leafy vegetables and especially vegetarians, okay, there is a chance of nutritional deficiency of iron. Chronic blood loss, that is piles, peptic piles means hemorrhoids in the anal region, okay, because of the constriction of the blood vessels which causes bleeding, okay, piles. Peptic ulcer, there is a wound in the peptic ulcer after acidity which turn in later stages peptic ulcer, there is a chronic bleeding, loss of blood. Uterine hemorrhage also, there is chronic blood loss. So iron deficiency, so iron overload is called toxicity. Hemosiderosis, uncommon, occurs in persons receiving repeated blood transfusion. Hemophilia, hemolytic anemias, common in Bantu tribe because of the staple diet, corn, is low in phosphate and their habit of cooking food in iron vessels, okay. There is a factor, they always cook the food in iron vessel, so which iron is absorbed more, okay. Hemosiderosis, hemochromatosis, see this is hemosiderosis, this is hemosiderosis. Next one, hemochromatosis. There are two types: primary hemochromatosis, color, chrome means color; secondary hemochromatosis. Primary hematochromatosis is genetic disorder, excessive storage of iron in tissue that will damage tissue. Secondary hemochromatosis is repeated blood transfusion, so more Hb, hemoglobin, iron, excessive oral intake of iron, example as in African Bantu tribes, they use all iron things only, okay. So there is toxicity, hemosiderosis and hemochromatosis. There are primary and secondary hemochromatosis. Iron overload, in that there is one term is bronze diabetes, that is means excess iron is deposited in various organs. Liver cell death occurs because of deficiency of iron, cirrhosis. Pancreatic cell death, diabetes, because insulin is required to maintain the blood sugar, so insulin is secreted by beta cells of islets of Langerhans of pancreas. So if pancreatic cell death means insulin, no insulin, so diabetes. Deposits under the skin, yellow brown discolorization, hemochromatosis is yellow color discolorization. The triad of cirrhosis, diabetes and hemochromatosis altogether is referred as bronze diabetes. So cirrhosis, diabetes and hematochromatosis altogether referred as bronze diabetes, okay. Bronze diabetes is nothing but it is caused by excess overload, deposition of iron in various organs, especially in the liver and pancreas. So there is no secretion of insulin because of the pancreatic cell death, so it is bronze diabetes, okay. So this is about the iron.